After years of rumor, the United Federation of Planets would finally begin to comprehend the truth of the Borg threat. In the year 2365, Captain Jean-Luc Picard and his ship, the USS Enterprise D, would be taken by Q, a former member of the Q Continuum, seemingly all-powerful beings who observe the universe and sometimes manipulate events as they see fit. This particular Q had an antagonistic history with Captain Picard and wanted the captain to admit his vulnerabilities and ask for Q's help. With Picard proving uncooperative, Q would transport their vessel 7,000 light-years away to see a mysterious cube-shaped ship. Though it was far from Federation borders, the Borg, as they came to be known, were described as a relentless and merciless species with the power to destroy everything the Federation had built, and that the further they traveled into deep space, the closer they would come to encountering such threats. In fact, the Borg had already visited the Alpha Quadrant, responsible for the disappearance of the USS Tombaugh in 2362 and the destruction of several Federation outposts along the Romulan neutral zone in 2364. Yet at the time, those attacks had gone without explanation. Unaware, the Borg were already starting their raids into the Alpha Quadrant. Though Captain Picard and the Enterprise D survived the encounter thanks to Q, it would only be 1 year later that the Borg vessel would finally engage the Enterprise, capturing and assimilating Captain Jean-Luc Picard. The Borg Collective would use the captain's knowledge about Federation technology and tactics as an advantage in battle, while also choosing to give the Picard drone a unique designation, Locutus of Borg, and having him act as a unifying voice, a representative of the Collective, hoping that by speaking to an individual, the Federation might offer less resistance. Yet such hope was unfounded. In the year 2367, an armada of 40 Federation starships, led by Admiral J.P. Hansen, engaged the Borg Cube at the Battle of Wolf 359. The Borg proved unlike anything they had ever faced, resulting in the greatest loss in Federation history. 39 of the 40 Federation vessels were destroyed, with thousands assimilated or killed. The cube, however, was practically undamaged and continued towards Earth. Eventually, the threat was eliminated when Locutus of Borg was recaptured by the crew of the Enterprise, who then used his ability to communicate with the cube, ordering the ship's destruction, destroying the vessel before it could assimilate Earth. Captain Picard was returned to his human state, and while the Federation survived, they lost a great deal, knowing it would be years before they fully recovered. And while the Borg threat abated for a time, they would return again 6 years later. This time, the Federation was better prepared, and though they suffered heavy casualties at the Battle of Sector 001, they were able to destroy the Borg cube as it neared Earth. Yet as the cube exploded, a smaller spherical Borg craft escaped from within the larger vessel. The Enterprise D chased the smaller vessel, hoping to reach it before it attacked Earth. But rather than attack, the Borg sphere disappeared, traveling through time to the year 2063, with the Enterprise crew still following. The Borg plan was to prevent first contact between the Vulcan and human race, thereby eliminating the threat of the Federation before it could begin. Yet the crew of the Enterprise was able to destroy the Borg sphere and played their part in ensuring that first contact occurred. Eventually, the crew was able to duplicate the temporal vortex that brought them to the 21st century and returned to their own time. While all seemed to wrap up nicely for the Federation, this temporal encounter with the Borg would have further ramifications. Some of the debris from the destroyed Borg sphere would land on Earth, buried in the snows of the North Pole. In the year 2153, this wreckage would be discovered, along with a still functional Borg drone. The Borg was able to kill several humans and steal a ship in an attempt to return to the Delta Quadrant, but Captain Jonathan Archer and the crew of the Enterprise NX-01 proved able to destroy the vessel. Yet before he died, the lone Borg sent a signal to Borg space, a signal that would take 200 years to arrive at its destination, but would point the way towards Earth and would possibly be the catalyst that brought the Borg to the Alpha Quadrant in the first place. Yet despite the devastation the Borg were able to unleash upon the Alpha Quadrant, they proved unable to launch a full-scale assault, given a number of catastrophes that occurred within the Borg Collective throughout the 2370s, though they continued to engage in occasional battles with the Federation, most notably the crew of the USS Voyager, who was stranded in the Delta Quadrant trying to make its way back to Earth. The primary enemy of the Borg became Species 8472, an insectoid race from a mysterious dimension containing what they called fluidic space. The Borg initially began the war with an incursion into their territory. However, they quickly proved outmatched and lost thousands of worlds and systems to the enemy race. The Borg were eventually forced into a temporary alliance with Captain Janeway and the Voyager crew, after it was discovered that Voyager had developed technology to combat the enemy species. With the aid of Voyager, the Borg defeated their enemies, but had suffered greatly and were now forced into a position of recovering much of what they had lost. An even more devastating blow came in the year 2378, when once again they encountered the Voyager spacecraft, capturing and assimilating Admiral Janeway, who had traveled back in time to aid the Voyager crew by giving giving them technology to reach the Alpha Quadrant more quickly. Though the plan underwent several changes, the Voyager ship eventually was able to use a Borg transwarp conduit to make their way back to Earth, while simultaneously sacrificing Admiral Janeway, who was purposely captured so she might spread a virus within the collective, disrupting the connection between individual drones and the hive mind. The ensuing chaos allowed for the Voyager crew to destroy the transwarp conduit, crippling the Borg's ability to travel quickly throughout the galaxy. When the Borg were last seen, the Janeway pathogen had killed the Queen, and the remains of the Borg collective were now scattered, chaotic, and without communication, leadership, or direction. Whether or not they survived the coming years, or were able to rebuild and reconquer what they had lost, remains, as yet, unknown. A special thanks to all those who have contributed to CivilizationEx. You make these videos possible, and I am eternally grateful for your support. If you would like to help CivilizationEx and want a say in the future content of this channel, click on the Patreon link in the description box below, and pledge any amount you'd like on a monthly basis. Or if you would prefer to make a single donation, you can use the PayPal link, also in the description below. And please be sure to like and subscribe, and click on the links to see more.